Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with saxophonist, pianist, composer, lyricist, arranger, and educator, the great John Fournier. He opened up about their latest 2019 CD, Soulophone, and it's doing quite well. The Chicago Soul Jazz Collective started several years ago and is a jazz ensemble dedicated to performing the classics from the early 60s soul jazz era. They play extensive repertoires of songs by luminaries like Ramsey Lewis, Lee Morgan, Herbie Hancock, Eddie Harris, Shirley Scott, Jimmy Smith, Stanley Turrentine, and others. He is a very talented leader of the group who is known for his work in theater that earned him a Joseph Jefferson Award for original music and lyrics, and has created very original works for this band. So get to know him, this band, and dig this interview, my friends.
Thank you for taking a minute out. And I want to dive right in. I really dig this latest album, Soulophone, and I want to know, what were you guys going after with this project?
I met up with a guy named Marcus Carroll. He's a trumpet player in town. He's in the Count Basie big band, and we did a recording session together. And we were just talking about how we weren't feeling right, you know, in our place in the world. And I was telling him how I've been listening to a lot of soul jazz lately, and it's been lifting my spirits. And that conversation led to just talking about how much we both love those records. And then, you know, by the end of that day, we had started a band, you know, pretty much. So and we really weren't expecting to do that much with the ensemble other than, you know, have a good time, cheer ourselves up, play the music, you know. And it's turned out that a lot of people are interested in it, which has been really exciting.
So when did the band come together? What year, and who's involved?
We're about 2 years in now. Soulophone is our first record, and it's Marcus Carroll plays trumpet. I play tenor sax. Amr Fahmy plays piano and Rhodes keyboard sometimes. Keith Brooks is the drummer. Andrew Vogt is the bass player, and Kyle Ash is the guitarist. And all of them are steeped in the Chicago jazz scene. So.
Yeah, that's cool, man. You know, one of the interesting things about what you guys got going there is we kind of have a collective here in Kansas City called the Boogaloo 7, led by Chris Hazelton. And it's that vibe. It's Lonnie Smith, it's groove, it's soul, it's, you know, it's a little bit more intense than just your regular jazz. It really gets into you. And my question is this: in the late 90s, there was that kind of jazz revival that the Squirrel Nut Zippers and all those guys were doing. Do you see catching on? Do you see this kind of vibe catching on and maybe putting jazz more on the forefront of things?
I can't really say. I hope so. I mean, one thing I will say is, you know, we are delivering it sincerely, you know, and we really respect the music, and we really go for the emotional impact, and you know, but you know, we're not really doing it as a gimmick. You know, we're really serious about, you know, presenting this music. We're starting to write originals about it and things like, you know, in the style and things. You know, one thing I can say though is we certainly seem to have no trouble getting some nice attention from radio play, like yourself, for example, and we also have had no trouble getting audiences, which has not been the case for a lot of jazz ensembles that I've been in. Yeah, people just flock to this band, you know, and we treat it like you know, a gospel revival at times. You know, we're hooting and hollering and clapping and screaming and cheering each other on, and I think there's something about it that lifts everybody's spirits, and I do think you know, people need that right now for a number of reasons.
Oh yeah, I agree. So, how is the Chicago jazz scene doing? How is the whole scene embracing you?
You know, it seems to be going, you know, quite well. You know, we've been really supported by WDCB, which is the station here in town, and they've been behind the record in a huge way. And, you know, we've played, you know, a number of the rooms in town. We have a gig at the Promontory, which is in Hyde Park, and the tickets are really selling like hotcakes. We're very excited about that. So, yeah, the audiences and the interest in it has been great. You know, and there are people who don't like the style, and that's fine. You know, I'm not going to give them peanut butter if they want jelly, you know, but we're just kind of doing what we do, you know, and seeing where it leads us.
I guess another testament to the fact that this is doing well is that on the jazz charts, it's actually charting pretty well. Was that a surprise, or is that something that?
Yeah, that was a shock. we peaked at number 11, and then we dropped to 15, and today we're at 14. So they're playing us more now. Yeah, that's been a shock. I mean, we cut the record live in a friend's studio. He's an excellent engineer, and I think the record sounds really cool. But we cut it live. We didn't, and we didn't really put tons of, thought into what we were going to play. We just went in there and played the tunes that guy would call a tune, and we'd play it, kind of thing. And really, I didn't know what to expect from it. So we made the whole recording and put it online and made some CDs and started getting this, that there was something there that people were really excited about. So it's a shock to us, believe me.
So you're 2 years in, you got your first album, you're selling tickets, you're charting well. It's probably not something that you're looking 10 years down the line, but just as far as the future is concerned, are you just keeping on, or is there anything else on your radar?
We actually rehearsed last night, and we talked about this next record, how, there's a few gems that we want to record from the era, but we've also been writing, so it'll be a lot more sort of original material, but in the style. And we'll be back in the studio, we'll cut this new record this year. So, this one's in the charts now, and we're touring with it a little bit and seeing what it can do. But we're definitely going to do another record and do a full, do a full support of it, full media tour, full, touring festivals, So yeah, I think we're kind of easing into the success of the first one and seeing if we can expand on it. And I'm excited to get back in the studio. I really like some of the stuff that we're working on.
So let's say you come to Kansas City and you have to help write up kind of a PR release that you put in our local news or social media to bill what you guys do and to tell the potential audience member what you're going to give to them. What do you give to a crowd? What do you want them to get from the experience that they'll get from seeing you?
Well, we definitely are, it is a jazz concert, but we're playing early 60s soul jazz. So it's steeped in the tradition of Ramsey Lewis and Lee Morgan and Herbie Hancock, and maybe some early Ray Charles and things like that. And, we play a gospel-infused, blues-infused, exciting kind of soulful jazz that is intended to lift your spirits. And I think the main thing we're trying to do, which was the initial plan for me personally, is just to feel better, And soul jazz makes me feel better. And when I play it, I feel even better. And when I play it with a big crowd of people, everybody seems to get healed a little bit. And it is affording someone, a real nice emotional, spiritual lift. And that's the greatest thing.
Man, that's a triumphant high note to wrap everything up on. John, thanks for opening up about the history of the band, the new album, and what you guys are doing and hopefully will do. So I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Chicago, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to John for his time and his music and all that cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.